you, Hilary. Mark, I wonder if you could come to the lectern. Mark Trafford is Neil Trafford's father.
Well, it is indeed an honour for us to be invited to join you all here today, to remember a special person whose life burned bright but short. And whether you knew Neil well or not quite so well, the shock of receiving the news of his, well, some might say, untimely or early departure from this world was no less brutal than perhaps ours. With this in mind, I want to share a few thoughts of Neil, and if you were with us on Wednesday, I apologise if there's some familiarities. Neil started life in very humble surroundings, with none of the advantages that some children have today. But he was blessed with a loving family, and also an intellect. He taught himself to read. However, his first textbook was the TV Times. And with that now familiar confidence, he knew what he wanted to watch and when. But then he started school and progressed on to more substantial material. And it might not surprise you to learn of his love of reading and self-development. They were perhaps his trademarks, and his library has now been largely relegated to the loft. However, he was recently seen devouring Hillary Clinton's biography, closely followed by Barack Obama's. And he offered me Hillary Clinton's 2-inch thick manuscript and asked if I would like to read it, and I had to tell him that I didn't have a week to spare. But speaking of devouring, if you ever went out for a meal with Neil, you could not have been anything other than impressed with his appetite for food. How did he stay so slim? If you know the secret, then please let me know. And let's not get on to history. We could be here all day, couldn't we? And if you have a look in your order of service, you'll see that great big list at the back from, is it Ethelred the Unready, all the way through to Queen Elizabeth II. He knew every single one and could recite them off by heart. And yet it might surprise some to learn that Neil hardly spoke for the first 3 years of his life, but would certainly concede that he soon caught up and probably exceeded his quota very quickly. Recent mobile phone statement revealed calls running into 22 pages long. Emily and my wife Lynn had discussed the delicate subject of whether it would be possible to have the phone surgically removed. Lynn would call him up for a chat, and so often he'd say, "Hold on, Mum, I've got a call on the other line. I'll call you back." He always did. Little did you know that it could be 2 weeks later. Neil was a keen mathematician, and on election night he would pore over all the results, the percentages, the margins, the swings, and he would apply formula. He would convert all of the results to a PR system, which he passionately did believe in, and predicted the colour of the country, all on scraps of paper. And that was while he was still at school. He loved languages, he played the flute, and he even beat me at tennis just a couple of months ago. That was sore. But what was it that drove Neil? Was it fame? Was it fortune? No, it was a drive to really make a difference, to improve the quality of people's lives. And very soon we started receiving monthly magazines through the door, such as Amnesty International, Tear Fund, Oxfam. And he was upset by injustice and inequality in the world, whether in Didsbury or a poor village in Africa. And when Neil stood for the council for the very first time in the Bradford ward, I think it was, with that same drive, he ejected his mother and I out onto the streets delivering leaflets until dusk. He had us up the next morning at 5 a.m. delivering that now famous Good Morning leaflet, with strict instructions that we had to be quiet, but we had to ensure that that leaflet dropped on the map the right way up. And when we had finished that, we should then sit outside the polling station taking all the numbers. And this all was just a little foreign, I suppose, for his reserved mother, whose reward was a McDonald's in the front seat of his car. We were proud to be employed later as tellers at the count, and Neil didn't win that year, but we witnessed his graciousness in defeat. Neil went on to fight vigorously to stop hospitals closing, campaigned tirelessly to keep cancer wards open, and gave consistently and regularly so that villagers in Africa received medical attention. He was compassionate and he was generous. Remember one year, Christmas 2004, Neil generously gave us 2 tickets for a long weekend in New York, and how he made his mother cry. But all this was underpinned, as many of you have told us, by a saving faith in a loving God who taught him that all men are of equal worth and equal dignity. Neil will be remembered for many things. It may be for his smile. It may be for the way in which he lit up a room. It may be for the interest, the individual interest that he took in you. It may be as an inspirational trainer that many of us have told you that he was. Maybe for his friendliness and welcoming acceptance of everyone. And it may be for his fun-loving nature. I guess many of us will remember him, though, as Neil. Mobile phone in hand, planning to make this world a better place by any means possible. We will remember Neil as our son, who told us little of his political achievements, but whom we worried over, cared about, prayed for, were immensely proud of, forever loved, desperately missed. Just can I take this opportunity to thank you for all your messages of support that we have received from Neil's friends and colleagues. Not just cards, but letters. It's always wonderful, isn't it, to get a letter and for people to communicate that warmth and those sentiments. And we thank you very much for that. I guess over the last 10 days or so, we've come to realise that the Lib Dems are less like a group of people who have come together because of a political ideal, and more like a caring community, sharing in one another's griefs. Almost an extended family for us, I think. We've received many letters, some on parliamentary notepaper, telling us that Neil will be greatly missed, and the warm sentiments have made grieving parents and his mother very proud indeed. Thank you.